Hi all my students, how are we? So first of all I want to ask you all, are we existing, living or surviving or thriving? So are you existing? Are you living? Living and surviving mean the same thing. So are you existing? Are you living or are you thriving? There's a difference in all the three. So give it a thought. Okay. And let's continue with narcissism. In my last module, I've completed doing fascism with you. And today we are going to start with narcissism. Okay. So let's start. Please open your textbooks. And today we are going to start with the Nazis in Germany. Okay, so let's start. Narcissism in Germany. Let's start. Open your textbooks. Background. After the defeat in the First World War, the Germans revolted against their king, who was Kaiser Wilhelm II, who was forced to abdicate. Free and fair elections were held and a new parliament was formed soon after. However, the new parliament met in January 1919 at Weimar and adopted a new constitution which made Germany a democratic republic. None of the parties commanded the support of the majority in the Reichstag. Reichstag is the lower house of the legislature. So none of them got a majority. So we've noticed is that even in France, there was no, even though they tried to establish a democracy, there was actually no single party which could establish their majority. As a result of which the entire political stability was just shook. There was political instability all over. Okay. So the same thing has happened in Germany also. Yeah. So, between 1919 and 1933, there were as many as 21 ministries headed by 12 chancellors, that means 12 prime ministers. The successive coalition cabinets were unable to cope with the problems faced by the country, and there was a growing popular discontent expressed through riots and the attempts to seize power. So, everybody wanted to seize power. Okay. So now, what is the background you are going to underline? Begin with the Germans revolted up to forced to abdicate, point number 1. Second point will be the new parliament up to democratic republic, point number 2. None of the parties up to the legislature, point number 3. And the last point will be the successive coalition cabinets up to attempts to seize power, which they did not succeed. Okay. Then we come to Hitler's rise of power. How did Hitler rise? Adolf Hitler was an Austrian by birth. He had fought in the German army during the First World War. You remember Austria-Hungary was one part and they were on one side. Okay. So he had fought in the First World War and had attained the rank of a corporal. In 1919, he joined a small political group which was called as the German Workers' Party, which was based in Munich. Soon after, he became its leader and changed its name to the National Socialist Party or the Nazi Party. So the full form of Nazi is National Socialist Party. The Nazi Party had its, so underline, bracket or underline, whatever you're doing, Hitler's rise to power up to the First World War. Second point, he joined up to the Nazi Party. That will be point number 2. Now point number 3, the Nazi Party had its own army, full stop. Close the point. Open the point. The army was divided into 2 groups, full stop. One group wore brown shirts and its main function was to protect, this point is important, please remember. One group wore brown shirts and its main function was to protect its party members and to break up the meetings of the opposition parties. The other group wore black shirts and its main duty was to protect their party leaders. Now, if you will notice that even Hitler's party, even in his army, they wore black shirts, and even we have seen Mussolini's army who were called as the black shirts. Now, the difference I want you all to notice over here is, turn your textbooks to the picture question that they have asked you. See, there's a picture question on page number 145 where it's written, black shirt leader enters Rome as a hero to confer with the king. Now, who will this person be? Mussolini. Okay, because he entered Rome to confer with the king. Just in case you get confused or you don't know what is happening, don't forget to read the entire picture. Don't start answering the questions. See, immediately they've asked you a question saying, who is referred to as the black shirt leader in the newspaper clipping. Now, in your hurry, you may either write German. If you write Adolf Hitler, everything will go wrong. So remember what you are writing, because it was Mussolini who entered Rome. And if you will read the next line, it's given to you, Benito Mussolini, the fascist chief. So please remember to read the entire picture in detail. Study properly, observe, understand, and then start writing the answers. Okay? Don't be in a hurry that I've got to finish. Wait. Read the entire picture which is given to you. Okay? So we come to that. The other group wore black shirts, and its main duty was to protect the party leaders. Okay, Hitler planned to capture power through a march on Berlin. He was arrested and jailed, but released long before his term was over. In jail, please mark, in jail, he wrote Mein Kampf, literally meaning my struggle, which expressed some of the most monstrous ideas of the Nazi movement. So, it's his autobiography, and he has in that we find most of his ideas of the Nazi party, okay, of the Nazi movement. Then we come to the leave about 6 to 7 lines, and then come to the Nazi party could not win a majority. Found it? That's your next point. The Nazi party could not win a majority in the parliament, and then Hitler assumed dictatorial powers. Because he did not win in the parliament, Hitler became a dictator, but he ruled. After President Hindenburg's death, Hitler became the president and the chancellor, and adopted the designation of Führer. Führer means the leader. Hitler abolished the constitution and made himself the dictator of Germany. That full point you have to know. Then we come to the causes of the rise. This was a background, okay? So with that we come to the causes for the rise of Nazism. Okay. Now the first one, of course, we know was the humiliating Treaty of Versailles. Now what are the points that you are going to underline? The Treaty of Versailles made the Germans feel very humiliated, and she was taken, all her property was taken away, and in fact she was forced to give things which were actually owned by her, that also she had to lose. And then her power was curtailed, and it was a very humiliating treaty. So let's see what the points are. Okay, defeat in the First World War and the conditions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles made the Germans feel humiliated and helpless. So you underline that. The Treaty of Versailles made the Germans feel humiliated and helpless. Second point we come to is Germany was forced to cede large chunks of her territory to France, Belgium, Poland and Denmark. Close the bracket. Then we come to again, Germany was forced to pay heavy reparations to the tune of $33 billion, and the total strength of the German army was fixed at only 1 lakh. Next point, the Germans who eagerly looked for an opportunity to avenge the same, they openly supported Hitler. Okay, so he openly encouraged the Germans, Hitler, to consign the Treaty of Versailles into the waste paper basket, to rebuild the empire of Germany and to recapture all her lost colonies. So that is why they began to support Hitler, because they felt very humiliated. Then we have the growing fear of communism. After the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, the communist influence in Germany increased considerably. The communists organized themselves effectively and succeeded in capturing a number of seats in Reichstag. Hitler warned the people that the communists of Germany would become the servants of their Russian masters and would follow the dictates of the communists. He therefore tried to persuade the people in Germany that Nazism alone could check the growing influence of communism. So now what Hitler did, he played upon that. Because the communists had become very strong in Russia and their thoughts were gaining power in Germany, Hitler ensured that they would not go towards communism, and he told them that if you become a communist nation, you will always be under Russia. So you will become a servant of Russia. So Hitler did not want that. The Germans also did not want that, and therefore Hitler rose to power. The Nazis rose to power. Then we have the economic crisis. As a result of the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to suffer in agricultural production, colonies, foreign investment, trade contacts, etc. So you underline from there, Germany had to suffer up to etc. Then foreign countries raised tariffs against the German goods. Okay, so tariffs were raised. Third point, the number of unemployed people increased. Fourth point, the condition of the farmers became miserable. Fifth point, Hitler promised the farmers that he would condole their debts. Sixth point, he won over the capitalists by assuring that industries would not be nationalized. So these are the 6 main points for economic crisis. Now let's read the paragraph. As a result of the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to suffer in agricultural production. Colonies, foreign investment, trade contacts, etc. The foreign countries raised the tariffs against the German goods. The number of unemployed people increased. The condition of the unemployed of the farmers became miserable. By June 1931, the deaths of the farmers had risen. Then the Nazis exploited the situation and assured the people that if they would abide by the Nazi ideology, then they would not be under Germany would regain her lost glory. Okay, then we have the resurgence of militant nationalism. Now, because of all this, actually during the World War, it had been decided by the treaty especially that Germany would not increase her arms and armaments, but it rose. Okay, so there was a resurgence. The Germans could not reconcile with the democratic parliamentary system prevailing in their country. They preferred their prestige and glory to liberty and freedom. They felt that only a strong man could restore the past prestige of Germany and check the rising popularity of communism. When Hitler promised them all the glory, they welcomed him with open arms, because they said rather than being free or democratic in nature, we would ensure that we have our past glory and Germany be restored to her past glory, as a result of which they welcomed Hitler with open arms. Anti-Semitic propaganda. The anti-Semitic propaganda means it was something that Hitler carried out against the Jews. He did not like the Jews. Okay. So the anti-Semitic propaganda carried out by the Nazi party contributed to Hitler's popularity. The Nazis, point number 1, the Nazis described the Jews as traitors. They said that the Jews had conspired with the Allies during the war and could commit treason against Germany. They impressed upon the Germans that their hardships was due to the exploitation by the Jews who dominated German economy. So they said because the Jews are controlling us, as a result of that we have to be subservient. So Hitler openly attacked the Jews. So that is called as the anti-Semitic propaganda. Due to this anti-Semitic propaganda, many of the Germans rallied behind the Nazi party. Then there was an absence of strong opposition. The rise of the Nazi party in Germany was facilitated by the absence of any strong opposition party. As a result, the Nazi party did not encounter any effective resistance and its popularity achieved great heights. Okay. Then the establishment of the volunteer corps. Whom did he establish? Under the Treaty of Versailles, Germany's military force was considerably reduced and a large number of German soldiers were thrown out of employment. In first point number 1, Hitler roped all these unemployed people and he roped in all these soldiers and organized them into the volunteer corps. So all those who became unemployed, Hitler brought all of them together and he formed a new volunteer corps group. This volunteer corps propagated the program of the Nazi party and worked for safeguarding the interests of the Nazi party. Then of course we have the 8th point, which is the charismatic personality of Hitler. Hitler had a charismatic personality. He had all the qualities which were required for being a popular leader. He was a shrewd. Now what are these qualities? So first you underline that. Charismatic personality of Hitler. Hitler had a charismatic personality, bracketed. He was a shrewd politician and a brave soldier. Point number 3, he knew the art of molding public opinion in his favor. So that means he was a good orator also, because he could mold public opinion so that it would favor him. According to the next point it's given to you. He was a gifted orator who captivated the Germans by his emotional speeches. He told the Germans what they want. So up to there, that point. Okay, now what did he do? He told the Germans what they wanted to hear. That means, what did they want to hear? They wanted to hear that they were betrayed that Germany was betrayed because and humiliated because of the Treaty of Versailles and the Jewish communist plot to conquer the world. The Germans resented the humiliating and insulting behavior which was meted out to them by the Allies, and they wanted to avenge the same. He openly encouraged the Germans to consign the Treaty of Versailles into the wastepaper basket, rebuild the German Empire, and to recapture all the lost colonies. Okay, you have a picture of Adolf Hitler over there, which of course you can easily recognize, and the picture before that was Adolf Hitler with his colleagues. Okay, now what were the aims of Nazism? In Mein Kampf, his struggle, Hitler expressed the aims of Nazism movement: to exalt nationalism, to advocate the rule of by a great leader from one single party, to despise internationalism, peace and democracy, to use force and brutality, to extol war, to uphold the racial supremacy of the Germans, and to hate the Jews. So he did not believe in equality. He said, no, Germans are a race which is superior than every other race, and therefore he said you all should hate the Jews. Now what was the impact of this Nazism? He established a totalitarian state. Totalitarian means a dictatorship state. Come to the second paragraph. He changed the federal government into a unitary government. So no democracy, he made it into a unitary government. First point. Hitler became the governor of Prussia. All provincial legislatures were dissolved in 1934 and the sovereign power of the central government was established. So he established his power that the central government is more powerful than anybody else. Okay. So he changed that federal form to unitary form. Then various political parties were abolished. That is the next point. A ban was imposed on the press, public speeches and writing of articles. So as usual, any dictator, the first thing they'll do is to impose a ban on free speech. You're not allowed to talk. Then underline this please, a secret police known as the Gestapo or the Gestapo, however you want to say it, Gestapo. A secret police known as the Gestapo kept a check on the activities of the citizens. You can be asked this question. Those suspected of disloyalty to the state were arrested or executed without any trial because he was a dictator. Then what are the economic reforms? Okay. Now, while we are reading all this, I think this actually comes only for your information. That is the impact of Nazism. 1 minute, I'll just check. Yes, your syllabus says a cause for the rise of fascism in Italy and rise of Nazism in Germany. And then it says similarity between their ideologies. Now this is not mentioned to you about the impact of Nazism, but it would do good if you learnt a few points. Even if you don't remember all, you just have to remember a few points so that in case you get such a question, you should be able to answer. Okay. Like this point which I told you about him establishing a secret police force which was called as the Gestapo. This they can ask you. Okay, so even though your syllabus doesn't mention it, please read it. Okay, then we come to the economic reforms. Hitler introduced the various reforms to meet the economic crisis of the war. And what did he launch? He launched factories. Underline any 3 points which you should know. 3 or maximum 5 points. If you get a 2-mark question, you should be able to answer 4 points. And if you get a 3-mark question, you have to write 6 points. Okay, that is a general rule. You get half a mark for each point. So if it is a 3-mark question, you must write minimum 6 points. If it is a 2-mark question, you must write minimum 4 points with an introduction and a conclusion. So it is not that you just write the points. You at least write 1 line of introduction and 1 line of conclusion. And you put your points in between. That is the way to write your answer so that you get full marks. And your points should be distinct. Point number 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever you want to say, A, B, C, D. whatever you want to write. Or if you want to just put arrows, like I do in most of my notes, I put arrows. So whatever you want to do, you can put that, okay? But you should have the points, okay? Now first one, factories were set up. Now what was the impact? His economic reforms were positive also. So the first one is factories were set up to provide work for the laborers, because after the First World War there was a lot of unemployment, okay? Then industrial and agricultural production and trade were encouraged. Then a food corporation was established to control food production. So he controlled the amount that was being charged on food. So food should not be made too costly. Okay. Then the price controls were introduced at the same to provide incentive were provided for the workers. They've mixed up these 2 points which were already mentioned first. Capitalists, this point you can write, capitalists were encouraged to increase production and strikes were banned. So he encouraged the capitalists because actually he got all his money from them. Okay. Then imports and exports were controlled to maintain a favorable trade balance. We've already mentioned about trade. Then the production of heavy armaments, aeroplanes and ships on a large scale was increased. So this increased employment also. Projects of public works, building government offices, stadiums, art, galleries, etc. were undertaken. So even for the social upliftment, he did a lot of things. I think we've got our 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you have marked with me, you have got the 6 points. You all can see when I'm marking a particular point, you know that, okay, she's marking this. So you mark it, okay? So we've got 6 points. Trade unions were dissolved. All the workers were put under one union, whose chief was a harsh Nazi leader. He assured the workers of safeguarding their interests and rights. But we already have our 6 points, so you get your 3 marks. And then the conclusion. Hitler freed Germany from the economic crisis and put an end to the problem of unemployment. The industrial production almost doubled and foreign trade also expanded. So you see how we conclude? Whichever points you have written, that also comes in the conclusion, so that you are able to write a good answer. So that is where we have to mark the bracket. Hitler freed Germany up to expanded. Then the next point is militarism and compulsory military training. So he made everybody compulsory undergo military training because he believed in war, isn't it? Then we come to the next point. He repudiated the peace treaties. The main objective of Hitler's foreign policy was to reject the Treaty of Versailles, which had humiliated Germany. Hitler openly condemned the Treaty of Versailles. Then he refused to pay the war indemnity as stipulated under the treaty, and he even resorted to the policy of territorial expansion, which actually he should not have according to the treaty. So he resorted to the policy of territorial expansion and fortification of Germany in complete violation of the treaty. So he did not believe in the treaty. Then we come to acquisition of territories. Now you know this, you can sometimes you are asked a question as to the foreign policies of Hitler. So what are the foreign policies of Hitler? In that we can have these points. The first one is the acquisition of territories, then racial supremacy, and the one we did before, repudiated peace treaties. This you can put in as a third point. So if you are asked about his foreign policies in detail as a 2 mark or a 3 mark question, you write them in detail. You know what you do, children? If you get a 3 mark question and you do not have 6 points, then you mention 3 points in detail. So you get your marks. Okay, that is a way to get your marks from the board, from the person who is examining your paper. Okay. So now this will come under the heading of impact of narcissism. At the same time, it can come as a sub-question, and your sub-question could be foreign policies. What were Hitler's foreign policies? Okay, so we come to the first policy, that was acquisition of territories. That is his first policy. Sorry. Sorry. Hitler tried to acquire more territories from the surplus German population. So what happened? See, Germany had suffered a lot of unemployment after the war because all the soldiers were unemployed. So, what do the people do? So, there was a German population which was in surplus. So, he made use of that. And what did he do? He acquired more territories for the German population. And what did he say? That Germany, within her existing frontiers, could attain only limited self sufficiency in raw material and none at all in foodstuff. The only remedy lay in acquisition of a greater living space. So he said, because we are so many, and because we have less food, and because we don't have sufficient place to live or to stay, that is the reason why we need to expand our territories. And that is what he told the Germans. Okay, so he justified his acquisition of territories. So we mark from there till greater living space. Okay, and then we come to the last part. He reclaimed the territory of Saar and Rhineland from France. So you remember that they had to give up Saar to France. So he got it back. Okay, he concluded a non-aggression pact with Russia. As far as Russia was concerned, he made a pact with them that there will be no aggression. You will not attack us, we will not attack you. So he made peace over there, and from France he got back his territories. Then we come to the second point of racial supremacy. Hitler believed in the doctrine of racialism and presented the Germans as the master race with the right and destiny to dominate the world. So you underline Germans as master race, put master race in inverted commas, with Germans as a master race with the right and destiny to dominate the world. This race, he said, would rule all other inferior races. For this, he wanted Germany to cleanse itself of the supposed contamination by Jews, Christians, and communists. So he didn't like any of these people. Then what were the negative effects? The last line. All anti-Nazi books and magazines were consigned to the fire. Everything has gone. Then you have two charts given to you. One is similarity between the causes of fascism and Nazism, and the other one is similarity between the ideologies of fascism and Nazism. This is a part of your syllabus, but instead of asking your direct question, you can be asked, write it down, similarities between the aims of fascism and Nazism. Okay, so that they can ask you, or they can say what was the similarity between the ideologies, or they can say the aims. It's the same thing, the same chart. Okay, so let's read it. To have faith in totalitarian rule, to despise democratic political systems, to hold the state is supreme, and it could suppress the fundamental rights and freedoms of every individual. Fourth one, to uphold one party and one leader rule, which said the leader is always right. So please write over there, the leader is always right. Fifth one, to believe in aggressive nationalism and imperialism. Sixth one, to regard war as an instrument for furthering national interests, comma, make it into a comma. He felt that international peace is a coward's dream. Seventh point, to uphold intensely nationalistic and anti-communist, anti-democratic rule, comma, had no place for strikes and lockouts. Had no place for strikes and lockouts. Okay. So with that we come to an end of this chapter. Similarity between the causes you can read by yourself. Now of course, as usual, they have given you a question. See, they have shown you Hitler's picture on the next page and they've asked you questions. So we finished reading this entire chapter and explanation also. And like I told you, please remember, if you are asked about his foreign policies, you have to write these 3 points. Point number 5, point number 6 and point number 4 in the same order. So point number 5 will be 1, point number 6 will be 2 and point number 4 will be 3. So you will get your 3 points. Okay. Okay. So with that okay, now as usual, I have got notes for you. This is from my earlier tuition notes, which I used to do earlier, and when I had got them typed out, so you will see that they are typed. Oops, sorry. Yeah, we've got all. Okay. So now let's read it. Just keep it open in front of you. It will just take 2 minutes. I know this lecture has become a little long, but let's finish up the topic today. Okay, see, now the rise of dictatorships. This is the entire chapter in a tabular form. I have given you Italy and Germany side by side. First one is Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler. Fascism, Nazism, Italy, Germany. What is a fascist? A bundle of rods which represented unity, strength and authority. What were the causes of the rise? We have economic crisis, discontentment, Treaty of Versailles, failure of the League of Nations, class conflict, threat of communism, political instability, charismatic leader. The leader was called Deuce, and here the leader was called Führer. Okay. Then the growth of fascism, I have given you in detail how the entire thing grew. I have already read it with you. So now this you can read by yourself. Then after that I have given you the foreign policy of Mussolini. What was his foreign policy? He said Italy must expand. And what did Adolf Hitler say? Germany must expand. He regained the islands of Rhodes, and that in detail I have given you. And what he has regained? Acquisition of territories. Okay, so I have forgotten to add this point over here. Could you please add it from your textbook? Which were the acquisition of territories? No, I know you all can check, but I would rather give it. Saar and Rhineland. Please ask that. Add that. Saar and Rhineland from France. He acquired Saar and Rhineland from France. Please write that, from France. Okay. And then of course his treatment is anti-Semitic property and the concentration camps. Okay. Impact of fascism. Initially Italy benefited a lot, but in the long run it proved to be disastrous for Italy. Same thing you have to write for Germany also, that initially it benefited and then how it went up. Then I have given you the negative effect. What were the negative effects of fascism and negative effects of the Nazis? Okay. Then I have given you the political effect also. What was the positive effect? Okay. I think you all can read this by yourself. It's very well given in point form, so you can read it. And then the end. Italy was defeated in the Second World War. The career and life of Mussolini ended in disgrace, and then he was executed. In the Second World War, Germany was totally defeated, and same thing, Hitler committed suicide. With his death, Nazism also came to an end. Both happened in 1945. So with that, we come to an end of this chapter, and I've done all the pictures with you. Please go through all of them because all are important. There is one picture of a military tank also given to you. You can be given that picture and they can ask you questions on that. And That's it. We've come to an end of the rise of dictatorships. We've done their rise also, and we've done their fall also. So they've risen and they've fallen, and that was the end of the Second World War. Please remember, the Second World War was from 1939 to 1945. Okay, so that was a time when the Second World War took place, and that's it. Here's wishing you all a goodbye, and do study very hard. Bye.